With Coach Satterfield here, and then when he's done, we'll have defensive coordinator Tyson Veit and offensive coordinator Brad Glenn. Coach, could you start us off with an opening statement, please?
Yeah, man. Shoot, awesome to be back in here with you guys. That means we're getting ready to get started. We're fired up about this season. We've had a great off season. I think as far as going all the way back to January, and then added some lot of players, quite honestly, and then this summer as well. The guys have worked extremely hard, and obviously, when you're looking at our team this year, we talked a little bit about this at media days. I mean, we have 47 new scholarship players since December, so that's a lot. I mean, it's over 50% of your scholarship players are new. I think our guys have done a really good job of being connected. That's one of the things we focused on in the spring and this summer, has been a connected football team, working on the discipline aspect of it, holding each other accountable. In this off season, trying to make it as hard as possible so that we can face adversity in the off season, not necessarily in the game. So hopefully the games will be much more easier for us and our team. And that's kind of be our focus in camp. It's going to be a difficult camp as far as putting a lot of pressure on our guys, putting them in adverse situations, seeing how they're going to react, finding out who our guys are. I mean, that's what especially these first 2 weeks of camp are, finding out where guys are going to be playing, what roles our guys are going to have, how can they help us go out and be successful. And that's what it's going to be all about, and coming together as a football team. We go to Higher Ground on Saturday. First practice is Sunday at Higher Ground. Our first 3 practices will be here at Nippert, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So got everything scheduled out and ready to go. Do want to mention we have had a really successful, healthy off season. Do want to mention one guy, Micah Coleman, will be out this season. Had a lower body injury while training this summer a few weeks ago, and he will not be able to play. Sincere Lewis was this spring that had an ACL that we had talked about, so he's obviously out. But everybody else is back and ready to go. I know Corleone's a big talking point for everybody, and obviously one of our great leaders. And Corleone's he's back to training. Working with our team, working with our doctors, and then he seems to be in great shape as far as mentally, and is ready to go. And hopefully, we're very optimistic about him and his future here as a Bearcat. We'll open up with questions.
Defensively, is this unlike anything you've ever seen because there is so much unknown in terms of where guys are going to slot, and how exciting is that going into camp? Because there is, it would seem on the surface, a lot of jobs up for grabs.
A lot of jobs up for grabs. And it's the new defense as well, right? So we're looking at a new scheme, a lot of new players, and there's been great competition on that side of the ball. When really at all levels. When you think about, I think about the safeties, I think about the corners, I think about all 3 linebacker positions. I think about the defensive line where we got a lot of bodies there as well. So a lot of moving parts, a lot of new players. It's going to be some great competition, and and really that's what I'm talking about. These first few weeks is really kind of sorting all that out, like who's going to be playing the star position, which is our middle safety. Who's going to be playing the field strong safety. I mean, so a lot of good players in those positions, and so it'll be some great competition.
Since Ritter, the quarterback position has been a question. So, do you know who's going to be the quarterback or who's going to be the leader of the team?
No, I mean we're still competing at that position like we are at every position. I think about, you look at the offensive line, we got all 5 starters back, but man, they're all competing. I feel like we got at least 9 guys that can go out and play at the offensive line position. So each and every day they're going to be making themselves better. I think the quarterback position will be very similar in that. We got Lichty, who's back, who's played a lot for us last year. Then you got a true freshman in Samaj, and then Brendan, who came in January. So I think that's a great competition right there. They've really been competing hard against each other at the same time, trying to help each other. And I think that's very healthy in their relationships in that room. As we all know, you better have at least 2 or 3 guys ready to go at that position. And so I feel very fortunate, particularly in this day and age in college football, where so many quarterbacks have moved around, for us to have, I feel like 3 solid guys at that position.
Keegan, then Scott.
with Coleman being out, is the plan a medical red shirt, and then next up after him, who's going to slot in at that?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly we'll try to get that year back. With that injury, it's tough. I mean, you got Eric Phillips, obviously that's their defensive end. Varner, Rob Jackson. I do think Marquise Wes Parker's a freshman that I think may have a shot there. I think he's coming in and looked very well or very good. So I think we're just going to be by committee there, and start rotating guys. And I feel like on defensive line anyway, we got to play a lot of players at D-line. Like, we got to rotate. Even though a guy like Corleone, who's one of the best in the country, we still got to rotate him. Like, we got to keep those guys fresh up front. I felt like last year's, particularly on defense, at all levels, we got wore down, particularly by the end of the year. We didn't have the depth we needed. We couldn't rotate like we needed. I mean, Jack Dingle was beat all to hell the last 6 games. So hopefully now we got some guys that we can rotate in that spot. So it'll be the same thing. I feel like at all 3 levels in the defense, and I do feel like we really helped ourselves this offseason with depth, really at all 3 levels.
You got a slew of new defensive backs in. They've all played at different places, had some success at different places. How difficult is it to gel a bunch of eyes into weeds?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's like I mentioned earlier, being a connected football team is what we've worked on throughout the spring and summer. And these guys have done a great job of competing with each other, at the same time trying to build each other up. And I think there's been a lot of positive messages coming from our guys. We intentionally this offseason did our crews, and within the crews there were 6 crews. We have every position that is on a crew, and so they all get to know each other a lot better. And the competition's there. So it's, I do think too that's part of camp. I mean, everybody's got to find out what their role is going to be. Am I going to be a starter? Am I going to be a guy that's going to come off the bench, but I'm still going to get 30, 35 snaps? I mean, so those are the type of things we got to work out over here the next few weeks.
Marshall, then Chad.
You brought up in your opening statement adversity and trying to prepare yourself through that for us so you're ready for the regular season. What did you learn from last year, first year here, first year in the Big 12, that the adversity you can actually prepare for in training camp heading into the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you don't really truly know how somebody's going to react until they face adversity. And so what we try to create through our workouts, through practice sessions, is situations where they're going to get it, in that adversity where you may put a ball down and call something, run a play where you think you got a first down as an offense, but then we'll say, nope, there was a penalty. We're backing you up 15 yards. Now you got to get it again. And I want to see, are they hanging their heads, or they say, all right, let's freaking go. And so we try to create those type of situations in practice in this offseason, spring practice, and make it as hard as you can possibly make it, where you feel like the other day we were running half gassers. A guy, they didn't make their time, so hey, you're right back up again. How are you going to react? And you got to make it in a certain time. So you're going to hang your head, you're going to start pointing fingers, or you're going to get back on the line and run it again. And those are the things we want to see. And our guys this summer have done a great job with that, and I feel like we're in a much better place. And so many things we learned from last year. Obviously, there was a lot of close games that we didn't win, and it comes down to only a few plays. And to me, discipline was a big part of that. We were not very disciplined in our assignment, or getting penalties, turning the ball over, those type things. We just worked a great deal this offseason.
How do you make discipline a part of your program, though?
Well, because if you have to lift at 6:30 in the morning, we're telling our guys you have to be in our building before 6 to get you something to eat. And you do this, and you just do this for 6 months. We've been doing that, And if you're not, we had some guys that were 1 minute late. Well, the other players kicked them out of the weight room. Like, you were 1 minute late. We're not dealing with that this year. So you're going to work out on Saturday morning since you missed this lift on Wednesday, for example. And it's coming from the players. And that's when this whole offseason is so refreshing to see as a coach, to see your team members holding each other accountable. And I think that's huge. You should see a big difference this year for that.
Chad, then Charlie.
The running game was up to your standard, I would think, a season ago, but the passing game didn't quite get there. Xavier Henderson is back on the outside. Competition in the slot, competition at number 2, competition at tight end. Where are you at going into camp, do you think, in terms of the pass catching and being able to move the ball through the air?
Well, I think we have, I think we have some quality individuals out there at wide receiver this year. Some new names, Tyron Smith, Tony Johnson, Jamoy Mays are some guys I feel like come in that can do some really good things. Guys that were on our team, Aaron Turner, Sterling Burkhalter. I think both of those guys had outstanding springs that will give us some great depth. Barry Jackson is as talented as any of them. And of course you got Prater. I mean, Cale Woodburn's probably maybe the fastest kid on our team. We saw that in the spring. I think he had a nice catch in the spring game. He's really improved himself, and I think so he'll give you something different. I just think we got a good overall mix of guys, depth-wise, way more than last year. But we all know it comes down to quarterbacks making the throws, and we had guys open last year. We didn't finish the plays on several of those guys. And if you hit some of those throughout a 12-game season, if you hit 7 or 8 of those balls down the field, I mean, your passing game is going to look a lot different. And I think, and it certainly to me should open up the run game a little bit more. I mean, we were playing teams last year; they're packing the box up, and we're still able to run the football. It speaks well for our offensive line and our backs. But hopefully this year we'll be able to push the ball down the field more. I mean, we feel good about our running game, but we do have to push the ball down the field more in the throw game and connect on those deep balls and get some more big plays. To me, we were lacking in the big play capabilities last year offensively. We moved the ball and we had yards, but we didn't score the touchdowns we needed. And I think it was the big plays that we just didn't get. And, it's been an emphasis all season. Hopefully we'll be able to hit those this year.
Alex, Charlie, Joe.
You guys are still searching for your first Big 12 win at home. Have you guys talked about defending home field, making Nippert Stadium a tough place for opposing teams to come in, and how much have you talked about that this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, our very first meeting this summer, that's one of our goals is defend Nip. I mean, we have to. I mean, that's, we want to be successful in this league. I mean, you have to win at home. This has to be such a great home field advantage for us. We have outstanding fans. Our student body that come out, they're incredible. It should definitely be a home field advantage, and we have to take advantage of that. And so that's the number one goal. We've talked about it all summer. We play Miami again this year. We have to go win that game. It's not here, but that's a huge game. We all know, and we've had players throughout the summer stand up and talk about what it means to them to defend Nip and to get the bell back. I mean, and so we, every week we've had a player and or a coach get up and speak to the whole group, and so it's on everybody's mind. It's a huge emphasis for us, and one of our big goals.
Sounded like a great update on Dante. Do you anticipate him practicing early in camp, or any other details on the timeline here?
Yeah, I mean, we just take it one day at a time with Dante, and our training staff does an outstanding job in handling that. But he is, the last probably month has been training with our team, working out, lifting, running, doing all those things. He certainly will be out in practice with our guys. We'll see how much he can do as we work through camp. I think, part of him is, getting him back into shape. I mean, he missed 2 or 3 weeks there in the summertime. So hopefully getting him back in the best shape that he can possibly be in. And then whatever our doctors and trainers allow him to be able to do, then that's what we'll do. So we're certainly just leaning on them, and we'll take it day by day.
When preseason polls come out, I'm sure every coach digests them differently. Do you care that you're picked 14th out of 16 teams? Do you use that with your group?
No, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, preseason polls I don't even know how anybody picks a preseason poll. We just mentioned 47 new scholarship players. I mean, how does anybody really know? I think, they base it off of the previous year usually. And so, we didn't have a great year last year, so that's probably deserved to be where we picked. It doesn't really matter. We have had a great focus this offseason of being the best we can possibly be, and being a connected football team. And if we continue that and live up to the standard that our players have set and our coaches have set, then we feel like we're going to be a very solid football team and a team that'll be hard to beat. And that's what we're focusing on as we move forward throughout this camp.
You brought up big plays. A lot of time big plays and get you into the red zone. How do you guys plan on working through camp to be more efficient in the red zone this coming season?
Yeah, I mean, we worked on, every day in the spring practice. It's 15 practices, so we're every day working on that. And, This all season, looked at a lot of different teams and studied red zone play, how we can become better. It ultimately comes down to playmakers and who do we need to get the ball to in those scenarios, those situations. But I do think, if you can score from, outside the red, that's going to help your scoring. Therefore, I think once you get down in there, you should be better at scoring. I think, we got to do a much better job of just getting the ball in the end zone. I mean, we don't want to settle for field goals. We all have heard and seen what happened last year. I mean, we want a different outcome, and so we'll continue to work on it in fall camp. It'll be a big emphasis offensively and defensively in the red.
Dan and Keegan.
What caught your eye, excuse me, when you first started watching Sorsby's Indiana team?
Competitive spirit is probably the first thing. When you turn that tape on, I mean, he's obviously making some great throws, but then he's running hard. He's trying to run over people and trying to fight for extra yards. I mean, that really caught my eye, and I was like, man, this kid is a competitor. So that just tells you he's a competitor. And then once you get to, we started talking to him, got to know him a little bit more. And, he's a very, team-oriented player coming from a quarterback position, which I really like. I mean, he really just fell in here and, trying to do the best he can for his teammates and everybody around him. And, but he's got a good release. He's got a good arm. He's changed his body tremendously. It's amazing. He came in around 241 or so, right in there. Now he's right around 228. He's running better, looking good. So, I think he should be a really good quarterback. I mean, one that we'll see how this competition works out here over the next few weeks.
Keegan and Chad.
This is a new era of technology in college football with the intercommunication, the tablets.
Yep.
Do you see that as a benefit or advantage for the offense over the defense, and kind of what have the plans been put in place for that?
Yeah, no, I'm excited about that. Really two things. Number one, the communication that we're going to have from coach to player, and we're certainly, like most teams, put that on the quarterback, so they'll be able to hear, what we're saying. That defensively, whether it be a linebacker or a safety, we'll put that on there. But I think that's awesome, all right? But then being able to come back off the sideline after your series and go through the plays is going to be incredible. And I do think it will benefit the offense more. And, but it'll benefit the defense as well. But the offense to be able to see exactly how the defense is lining up for this game, because sometimes defenses, what we worked on all week, maybe they changed, they tweaked some stuff. All right, after the first two series, you come back and you say, all right, look, the safety's doing this or the D-line's doing this, so now you can really combat that, and that's going to be incredible. So we are going to work that this camp. We're going to have at least 2 scrimmages where we're going to work the technology. Our first major scrimmage here, I think maybe 10 practices in, we'll use it. I think you get 18 iPads. And so now how do you split that up, offense and defense and up in the box? And so we got to have a great plan for that when the guys come off the field. But I do think it's going to be awesome. I mean, I'm excited for it, and it'll certainly benefit all of us.
You lost 2 tight ends that had some production. You gained several decent dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Are you better in that room?
Oh yeah, I think so. A lot better in that room. And the guys that we brought in, we're fired up about them. We feel like they can be outstanding tight ends. The 2 freshmen that we brought in, love those 2 freshmen that we brought in that got here in January. That is probably the most improved position on the football team is the tight end room. And we added size, we added guys that can catch, we added a lot of depth. We love to use the tight ends. Every snap you're going to see a tight end on the field, and sometimes you're going to see 2, and other times you're going to see 3. And we got to be able to utilize those bodies right there. They'll also really help special team wise as well. So yeah, we're excited about that room.
With the turnover and 47 new guys, it's usually very difficult for freshmen to get on the field because there's talent stacked ahead of them. We saw some of these guys in the spring flash and make an impression. Is this maybe going to be an opportunity for some of those talented young guys to advance faster than normal?
I think so. I mean, first of all, I think Zach Grant, our GM, did a great job evaluating our coaches recruiting this class. This is an outstanding freshman class. Number one, high quality individuals, and number 2, they can play. The 10 guys we brought in the spring, they all flashed, like all of them. I'm like, and then so now you're already seeing improvement this summer from those guys because I haven't been here in the spring. They're probably well ahead of the other guys that showed up this summer, the other freshmen. But since they've been here 2 months, I'm now starting to see some of those guys starting to flash. So we're really excited about some of these freshmen. There'll be some of those guys playing for us. There's no question about it. Obviously, there's a lot of competition going on, a lot of depth. But once this thing starts working itself out, I mean, I firmly believe that we'll see several of those freshmen that'll be in the mix and playing for us.
Any other questions? Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.
Let's go.
Love